Hi again. How are you? I hope you are well, with health and at peace. Today, I'd like to speak a little more, to talk a little more with you of my book, Hypnosis in the Realm of Design, specifically chapter 3, working with in these chapters is extremely important because frequently many of us considers hypnosis as only a technical task, a technical practice. But from a design perspective, a designer as a good hypnotherapist is not a technician. The technician is asked to solve a problem. He have a diagnosis, a problem, and the specific technique. But a designer as the hypnotherapist is neither an artist, because an artist have an aesthetical contemplation experience and transmit it to the people without thinking, intending to solve problems, for example, or to achieve the aesthetic and emotional expectations of the public. But who is a designer, and why I consider the hypnotherapists such as Milton Erickson as a designer? A designer is someone who invites the subject to a navigational process. They work in the elusive field of human subjectivity and especially trance, human communication, unconscious feelings, imagination, qualities, a qualitative word, and without lost the possibility of efficacy. For example, of course, a good therapist needs to intend efficacy, but more than that, it serves effectiveness, something, an experience that lead them to an integrative process. So in this process of design inquiry, both of them, the therapist and the subject, experience an integrative process, effectiveness. But to work in this sense, we need to travel among different phenomenological attitudes. In France, for example, there is a popular affirmation in which one needs to be at least two to do psychology. But from a design inquiry perspective, one needs to be or to transit among at least 3 attitudes to make a good navigational process. The first of them, of these attitudes, is a analogically considered by Charles Peirce, as the artistic attitude. Peirce used a phenomenological character, named the artist. But why? Because he has a aesthetical sense. He can discriminate the most mass, the most refined sensation in points in which the other people cannot do. And in this sense, is par excellence the most emotional and feeling attitude of them. In this sense, we can make a good comparison with the humanistic therapists, in which the therapist and the subject are in a form of trance, an aesthetic contemplation in which they are only there in the present, without think and compare it with anything else. And this form of exchange tend to eliminate, at least temporarily, the frontiers between them. In this sense, many subjects in hypnosis can report to you the sensations of the therapist was inside their words and could read their thoughts, because there was a kind of interpenetration. And this is the foundation for the emotional contract in a therapeutic process. Without this, we cannot do therapy. This is the basis of intentionality, which will emerge from this relationship and will be essential for therapy. The second attitude is a kind of dance, but it requires a strong persistence. And Peirce used the bulldog, the legendary dog, new at Peirce's time because of its persistence, that strong tenacity when it was working, for example, hunting or in guard service. In this sense, the second attitude requires a good sense of observation, in which the inquirer needs to be open to observe and understand the most different facets of the subject, and chose the correct techniques for it. It's essential. As Jeffrey Zag, for example, explained Erickson's works, in which Erickson detailed precisely each technique for each subject. This is a bulldog action, not a control upon the subject, not simply this, but the persistence with the process. And the third attitude, perhaps more familiar for many therapists, is related to the mathematician, because it is in the general level, the generalizations, the theories. The mathematician is someone who can generalize things, but this symbolic construction is developed between the protagonist, the subject, the therapist, and the subjects, both of them being designers. And this sharing is essential in this the basis of the notion of dialogue developed by Professor Farouk Seif. Dialogue is beyond conversation. Dialogue is not only the exchange of words. but is a semiotic exchange that can go beyond that moment in which the meeting take its place. And then dialogue presupposes, for example, the internal exchanges a subject can develop with his internal voices after the meeting with the therapist. Because Peirce himself affirmed that monologue is the base of dialogue. And dialogue is not only with words, it can implicate the most different semiotic process. Bye-bye.